Hey, it's Chris Chico, and in today's case study, I have here with me Eduardo, one of our clients, and we're going to be digging inside of a deal that he did. That he made $17,000 off of a Facebook ad, and we're going to be discussing everything about the deal, how he found the deal, where he got the buyers, and every little nook and cranny. So then that way you can also learn and understand how to do deals exactly the same way. So Eduardo, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. So thank you very much.
Hey, yeah, no, well, I appreciate you, Chris. I really, it's an honor to be on here for sure. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And then, so what I want to do is let's dig deep into the deal, and then we'll work backwards in a few other things I want to ask you. But I always like to start off with the juicy stuff. So, this particular deal was a Facebook ad, right? And you
Yes.
were targeting on this particular. That we have different ways of targeting on Facebook. We can target by nationwide, by states, and by cities. And you mentioned that this particular one was you were targeting cities. Is that correct?
Yes, so this one is the list that you give us for cities. I think it's 95 lists or
95
90.
cities, right? Which
Yeah.
expands a little bit when you put it into Facebook. And so then now, a couple things. So, was this a wholesale deal or was it an ovation?
This was a wholesale deal.
This was a
Mhm.
wholesale deal. Okay. So in this particular deal, I don't have the location. Where was the property located?
In Houston, Texas.
Oh wow. So it was definitely in a high a high value market, as I call it, right?
Very hot, yeah, hot market
Okay.
for sure.
Now, when you spoke with us, so the lead came in. You were using there's a couple ways that we use to collect information from the sellers when they come in through a Facebook ad. One of them is sending them to your website. Another one is to use Facebook's own internal system, which is instant form, so that they you collect the information, but you keep them on the platform. I think this one you're doing lead form, so this one came from a lead form, right?
Yes, yeah, this one was from a lead form.
Okay. And then now, when you spoke with the seller, um, give me an idea of. Let's talk about this. Seller calls you. Um, where being the fact that it's in a into Houston, were you in competition with a lot of other real estate investors when you spoke with the seller? By the way, if you're interested in learning how to run your own Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube ad campaign, so that way you can have warm incoming leads without having to pay for an agency, without having to pay expensive pay per lead prices, go ahead and click the link in the description. We'll give you all the details, and it may just be the thing that you've been looking for. Now, let's go back to the case study.
When I called him the same day, this guy, so it's a Spanish lead. I called him and he acted like he was still looking for offers. So of course I kept up with him. It wasn't like a one call close on this one or anything like that. He acted like he had other offers. Little did I know that I kept following up though. And what's it called, found out that he was under contract with somebody else later on. So
Got
he
it.
was initially under contract. I still followed up because I already know if it's somebody unexperienced or whatnot, they're not going to close on it, not going to find an end buyer if it is a wholesaler, or anything can happen, right? And so I followed up weeks after, and that's when I found out, and got it under contract eventually because I built some rapport with the seller.
Do you think he had it on the contract when you initially spoke, or it was like you were talking to him and maybe somebody else was talking to him and then they ended up putting him on the contract?
I think, yeah, now that I think about it, actually, I think he wasn't under contract with somebody initially
Right.
when I spoke with him, and maybe like within a week or two, he then went under contract with somebody who, they drug it out for longer than a month, about probably like a month and a half with him, trying to whatever it is that they
Trying
were
to
trying
find
to
a
do.
buyer. Now,
Probably, yeah, it sounded like it was a wholesaler.
do you think that they, I don't know, what do you remember do you remember what the seller was asking versus, what you do you think I would assume that the other person
Yeah.
gave him more money and that's why he went with him initially, right?
Yes. So I initially was, I think I was at about 195 initially, that what I told him
Right.
that I would buy it at, 195 or so. And he right away told me, "Oh, that's too low." And so later on, though, I found out that through conversation that he had it under contract with the other seller or the other buyer at between 215, 220, something like that. And I
Okay.
was like, "Yeah, that's quite a bit more than I, could have done for it." But so when I kept up with him on the phone and follow-ups, and I offered him, it ended up being under contract at 205. 205
With
was how much I put it under contract
with you. Okay.
with me, which was still lower. I kind of stuck to my guns. I was like, at 205 is the most that I can do. Think about it. And he actually didn't say yes. I was trying to have him, sign a contract right there and there on that call. But he was like, no, let me think about it. It's still too low. He's like, I think I have some other people. But again, I had built really good rapport with him at that point to where, he had my number saved. He knew when I was calling him and whatnot and texting him.
Mm, yeah.
And he called me maybe like 3, 4 days later. Hey, yeah, I'm ready to sign. And he just wanted to get it.
Interesting.
And I was still lower than what this other previous buyer was at too. So
So it sounds like, sometimes closing someone means also working in the way that they feel most comfortable, right? Because I'm sure that if you would have been hard with him and said, no, I need an answer today, or you really, really pushed him hard, then maybe you wouldn't have gotten the deal or maybe build rapport like he did because he called you, right? Would you say that's
right.
accurate?
Yes, yes, definitely. Building rapport had a lot to do with it for sure, and not being so pushy. He was an older gentleman,
Yeah.
and I've done deals with other older gentlemen before, and usually when, for the most part, the ones that I've dealt with, they're pretty much like a man of their word kind of thing, mentality, where
Got
if
it.
they tell you on something, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, they're going to do it, and you kind of recognize it and see it once you start talking with them. Again, not the case with a lot of them, right? But for the ones that I've dealt with, and and people that I've talked to, I can kind of gauge and know, like, oh yeah, he's serious about what he's saying. He's going to do what he said he's going to do. So, and sure enough, he called me 2, 3 days later, told me that he would do it. So.
And what was his well, I forgot to ask you, what was the seller's personal situation that you feel led him to contact a cash buyer versus listing it with an agent?
Yeah, so I found out that he had actually bought the property, what I suspect was as a what do you call it, a
Investment, rental?
lease option,
Oh.
but he didn't know back in the, I don't know, 2005, something like that. He bought it
Hmm.
as a lease option, and later on, because he started telling me that he almost lost a house, and I was like, wait, but I thought you were paying on it, through a mortgage company, blah blah blah. He's like, no, I was paying to somebody or something like that. But 7 years later, when they notified me that I was about to lose it or something like that, and I was like, the only way that I can think of, I didn't dig deeper into it, but was a lease option. You lease it out for 7 years, and then at that point they have the option to either buy it, or if they want to keep renting it to you, or you get kicked out. If you don't,
Was he was
perform on
he
the
on
option.
title?
No, apparently he wasn't. He later found out. I mean, again, this is an older guy who really was very trusting, I guess, with the people that he
Yeah.
purchased the house from. Very much so, to the point to where he almost lost it. Long story short, he was able to find a like a private lender,
Hmm.
somebody private who came in, bought it outright, and then really sold it to him where he was on title and everything. And so that, I think he told me he lost between 50 or $60,000 or something like that,
Oh wow.
just from
Okay.
all of that. And so yeah, so he was very skeptical too. Even till day of closing, he was super skeptical on some things, even though I had built rapport with him.
Yeah.
But because he had gone through a bad deal before, and whatnot, and then that time waster, also in between, he was very, very skeptical. But
Now he was living at the
yeah, that was
house,
the
right?
situation. Yes, sorry. So yeah, he was living at the house. Had gone through also like a bad situation with his insurance, where a pipe burst, his insurance didn't want to cover, and he paid some guy to go remodel,
Oh
like
wow.
cut halfway. I think it's like 4 feet from the bottom or something like that when you have a flood. They got
Yeah.
to cut into your sheetrock. He did that, and the guy just cut it, fixed it, and never came back to actually patch it and finish the work. So he went through a couple of bad, experiences. So his property inside, when I looked at the pictures and videos that I got from it, was not very homey, I guess, if you want to call it.
Hmm.
He was a little bit of in a money struggle at the bind as well when I talked to him. On top of that, so it looked like, honestly, like a unfinished home for sure,
Unfinished home.
because they had that cut.
A question that comes up, and when you look at someone like that, a seller in that particular situation, why do you think he called cash buyers as opposed to calling an agent? Do you think he ever considered an agent, or you think, he was embarrassed about the house, or maybe thought that an agent was going to help him? What do you think was the reason for that?
Well, I asked him, why he. I always ask every seller.
Hmm.
That's one of the first questions I ask. Hey, have you thought about selling? On the
With an
market. Like, I
yeah,
try to already eliminate these, what's it called, pushback that I can get later on.
yeah.
And yeah, he didn't want to do it because he needed to put some work into the property for sure.
Hmm.
Like getting that fixed, the drywall, and then amongst other things as well. And so he just knew he wasn't going to qualify to be able to sell it on the market, to a
Got it.
bank, I guess.
Got it. Because in his mind, he was thinking, if I list it with an agent, they're going to find me a buyer who's going to want to live inside the property, and they're going to need all these repairs, and I don't have the ability to do that.
Right.
Right. Which is
Exactly.
interesting because they also, technically you could list it on the market as an as is sale for investors, but they don't connect those two dots. They think
Yeah.
agents are completely retail and investors are completely this side, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And he also had like a minimum he was trying to meet as well on top of
Yeah.
that. Like, I'm trying to walk away with X amount, because he had other plans after. Now, mind you, this is a gentleman who's probably, I think he said he was like 62 or something like that. He's an older gentleman for sure. Still working and but trying to, just survive with what he had. So that was pretty much the savings, on the house as well.
Yeah,
He didn't want to invest more money into it.
yeah. I mean, it seems like he was stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah. So the you got it for 205. What was the retail value of that house? What like what was your process in terms of like, well, let me back up. What did you feel was the retail value of the house and how much work it would need in order to go retail value?
So for this one, I had actually calculated the ARV to be about here, I'll tell you. It was 350, the
Hmm.
ARV on it. Um, and work-wise, I kind of estimated it needed to be in top shape, maybe about 50 to $60,000
That's what I was
worth of
thinking.
work.
I was thinking you were gonna say
Yeah.
60. Okay,
Yeah, about 50 to 60, but I always go worst case scenario 60 was what I ran my numbers with.
got it.
And then of course, the profit and whatnot. So, but I still had quite a bit of wiggle room for sure on
What
that
about
one.
in his situation, did I'm not sure if you're doing novations, but was that something that you had considered or not really because of the condition of the property?
Yeah, as soon as I got the pictures and everything, and just from talking to him about
Yeah,
the condition on the property, I knew Novation just wasn't going to work. And even if it were, it was going to be a little bit harder and more of a headache versus just doing a straight cash deal. And for what he was
yeah.
aiming for, just cash made all around. It just made more sense than it.
Yeah, I asked you because there's a couple people in the group, FN, FN, he
Yes, I've seen
is,
him on there.
yeah, he's seen him on there. He did a call on novations and he does novations on everything, even wholesale deals, with the intent of taking that property and putting it on the MLS, and then he'll just sell it as a wholesale, right? Meaning cash
Hmm.
buyers, no financing, etc. That's why I asked because him and a few other ones are doing that, where regardless, even if it's a wholesale deal, they'll still try to put it on the MLS. Um,
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, so that's maybe something I would say in the novations area. There's a call with him. Listen to that because he goes over that, and he's gung ho about that. He's like everything goes on the MLS, even the wholesale deals, and then I just put it cash, hard money, whatever. And he says I tap into a bunch of buyers that normally I wouldn't tap into. Something to consider.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
Um.
know.
So now, how did you find a buyer?
So I have done previous deals in Houston.
Hmm.
And so I already had a small but a good buyers list that I felt like it was. And just recently, actually, maybe like 2 months prior, I had been doing more outreach out there because I had a what's it called, a deal under contract that I was trying
Hmm.
to find a buyer for. And I connected with new buyers around there. And so I reached out to some of them. And funny enough, actually, about 2 weeks before I got this one under contract, one of them retexted me, hey Eddie, because I go by Eddie with everybody else, but hey Eddie, you got any deals for me? And I was like, no, nothing yet, but I have something in the pipeline that I'm hopefully I got, for you here soon. And sure enough, I reached back out to him and he was very responsive, went out there the same day and everything. And so I didn't really have to do a lot of marketing. I
Hmm.
actually reached out to maybe like 3 or 4 buyers. He was one of the ones that went out there right away and yeah, locked it up maybe like I would say maybe 2 days after. So
So you got 17K on that. Do you feel that um, did you have to negotiate hard with the buyers or no?
no, I was asking 225
Hmm.
and they did exactly the 225 on the
You
deal.
always wonder, man, I should have asked for more. But there's always a balancing act because
Yeah,
you got to get good money, but they also have to say they have
yeah,
to put they have to be able to
exactly.
get a good deal, right? So then they'll
That's
come
the
back.
exact thought that I had. I was like, man, did I
Yeah,
just sell it for too little? I'm like, it's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm like, this won't be the last. So
yeah,
hopefully we keep doing more deals. And that's kind of how I worded it to him. We'll keep doing more deals together. Um, but yeah, it was at 225 that I locked in with the buyer.
got it. And then how long did it take to close the deal? Once you got the assignment signed, was it fairly quickly?
Actually, well, I was hoping I always do a 30 on my seller contracts that I use on my contract. I put on there 30
Hmm.
business days
Yeah,
on my contract because title companies don't work on weekends,
yeah.
and whatnot. And so I always put 30 days on there, but I do read it out to them and what's it called, specify for to them. But the buyer, when I locked him up, I was hoping to close in 2 weeks. That was the original plan. But
Hmm.
obviously nothing ever goes to plan. And so in between all of that, 1 week later, I found out from title, or yeah, from title, that we were needing to go through a process of like I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's called FERPTA. It's what
Yeah,
do you
because
call it?
he was from out of the country.
Well, he wasn't. That's the thing. He wasn't out of the country. He's been here for 20 years or something like that. He got citizenship, I think, in like the 90s
Hmm.
through TPS, which is Temporary Protection Act or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, but recently in September, all of that got stopped.
Mm.
Um, and so that made him here, to be his status to be, a little murky here, legal
Mm.
status.
Yeah.
And so a title company was like, yeah, well, if he's not, if he's not here legally or whatever the case is, then we need to retain that 15%. So FERPA is that. It's a
Yeah. They
tax
withhold it.
thing
Yeah.
that makes, yeah, that they withhold 15%. But I did some research and I was like, no, actually, he's been doing his taxes for the past 15, 20 plus years. He's still technically, because that's when I learned that the difference between legal status or
Hmm.
and a legal tax status. It's
Mm.
two different things,
Yeah.
and they're technically considered still legal tax status if they do if they've been doing their taxes for X amount of time. Like there's a requirement, and it's on their website, on IRS website. So I went through it, and of course I used ChatGPT to help me out as well.
Yes. That's
Makes it a whole
exactly what
lot
I.
easier.
Yes. Yes.
And so I figured it out, but I gave them the information title, but they still didn't accept that. They wanted a CPA or somebody that specialized in that to
Mm.
get kind of like a
An opinion
like
letter.
a yes,
Yeah.
uh-huh. And so that was really hard to find somebody that actually works in that.
Oh.
Um, very difficult. I called, I kid you not, maybe like 30 different local ones, and then out of state um, CPA,
Hmm.
offices or whatnot. A lot of them don't like to get involved with it because there's quite a bit that gets involved that's involved with that. But I found one after, funny enough, on ChatGPT. I went on there and I started asking it more questions like, "Hey,
Mm.
find me more that are in the area that might work with FERPTA or whatnot." And I found one finally. Only one in Houston. And in case anybody needs help, also just FYI, they work in other states as well. So just let me know and I'll share their info in case y'all run into that. But they were able to get all of that within maybe 3, 4 days, which is
Oh.
really
Okay.
fast.
Yeah. How
Yeah,
much they charge you for that? How much they charge?
about 1,500, I think, 15,
Okay.
1,600. But that comes out of came out of the seller's proceeds
Got it.
after
Yeah.
I
But
put.
then, if he
Yeah.
didn't do that, then he would have lost 15% and then would have been sent to the government. Now he has to go chase after it with them. So you
Yes.
never know, like,
Well,
what happens then.
the whole issue too was that he was not wanting to get 15% retained.
Yeah.
Up front,
Yeah.
I was trying to explain to him, I'm like, this is just retained. You most likely will be getting some money back. I'm no expert, tax expert,
Yeah.
right? Talk to your professional. But once you file your taxes next year. But he was like, no, I'm going to need that money now, blah, blah, blah. He was wanting to not go through the contract at that point. He's like, if I can't keep my 15%, then I'm not going to close. I was like,
Hmm.
well, that just put more pressure into what I really needed to,
Yeah.
to get all of that done. So,
That's pretty cool
um,
that you use ChatGPT. I've done that before where we were trying to close a deal in Colorado. And in this particular area of Colorado, there were a lot of forest fires. And it was, susceptible to fires. And we couldn't find an insurance provider. So with ChatGPT, I asked it, hey, could you do the research and here's what the situation is. Here's the property address. And they did all the research, came up with three or four, and we got one of them. So I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Where have
yeah,
you been? Where have you been all
yeah.
my life?
Yeah, it was really nice, honestly, because
Yeah.
I tried doing it on Google at first. I went on Google on the Maps view
Yeah.
on Google and I typed in CPA or something like that, and I called everybody that was in that map area,
Hmm.
and I couldn't. I could not find somebody until I used ChatGPT, and probably the first list that it gave me 10 didn't work, and it was on the second one list that
Yeah.
it then gave me the first one on that one that I called and boom, found the people that could help
Excellent.
me out.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
It's funny. I
yeah.
was talking to my wife and I was like, uh, 8 months ago or a year ago, you're like, you didn't know what ChatGPT was. You kind of heard about it. Then a year later, it's part of your, like, you can't live without it. And it's like, that's amazing.
Yeah, now I
Yeah,
need it for everything now.
yeah.
Yeah, which
So
is I don't know if you heard of that, but just side note, that little browser that they have now,
yeah,
the
Atlas. I haven't
ChatGPT
played
app.
around with it. I have it downloaded, but I'm gonna start playing around with it. I use it. I mean, I'm on ChatGPT all day long. Um,
Yeah,
I had a
yeah.
question. So you were doing so this is you before you came on board, with us helping you, were you doing ads
Mhm.
at all or ever tried ads, or this is your first time with ads?
I did actually. I tried it before myself, probably like a year ago, year and a
Uh-huh.
half ago before enrolling. And but this was just off of YouTube University,
Mm,
just kind of learning on my own, Googling stuff. Set up my Pixel and everything actually. And got some leads, but my lead, what's it called? Cost per lead was super high. Of course, I just
mm,
didn't know what I was doing at all. I was just kind of like doing some testing, guessing work kind
got
of
it.
thing. And so yeah, I had done it about a year and a half before. But just like I only did it for like a month, and that was it. That was it. I just stopped after that.
So
And
what was the? I was just curious for myself. So you went on YouTube, and then it, obviously you got to set up, but the results weren't there. What would you say out of you remember when you started going through our checklist and everything in terms of setting it up? Is it just that it was
mhm.
missing a lot of details on YouTube, or what made the difference, you think?
Well, for one, I was only using like static images, so
Okay,
there was just a bunch of images that I created actually on Canva, and it was just a handful. Um, but I wasn't using any videos or anything like that. So just ad creation was just not
right.
there for me, and also the way to know how to test it, like the flow that you guys
Yeah,
teach, which is even how to title it and all of that to know what's in the
right.
campaign itself. All of that just made a world of a difference for me
And you started
compared
to
to
get,
how I was trying to do it. Yeah.
and I guess as soon as you did that, then you started to get leads right away at a good cost.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
As soon as I set it up the way that you guys what's it called, have it on the
yeah.
school, the videos, and then also how to keep up with it, like how to know which ones are doing well, when you need to maybe change it up. All of that definitely helped me get better cost per lead on my ads on my leads and stuff. So that made a world of a difference for sure.
Do you consider yourself a techie person or no?
I would. Yeah,
Okay.
I love all this, doing research and doing
Yeah.
all of the setup and stuff. Yeah.
So question is, did you did you at any point consider, or maybe you have in the past, consider running getting an agency? Because the discussion I always have is I think it's a good idea. I know obviously,
Yeah.
we this is what we do, but I always think it's a good idea for you to learn how to run ads. But some people are very like against that. Some people say, well, I just want to focus on talking to sellers. I don't want to focus on ads. I'd rather just hire somebody. Did you at all consider hiring an agency at some point before you got involved with us?
Yeah, yeah. So I did actually. I did hire somebody before.
Mm,
So just going back really quick, part of the reason why I also stopped about a year and a half ago when I did the ads
yeah,
was also because of the budget. I didn't have the budget for it to keep
got it.
going on it. So, anyways, but after that, maybe before I signed up with enrolled with you guys, maybe like a month actually, or a month or two before, I hired somebody that I knew that was doing it's kind of like his own little small agency running
Mm,
ads for other
yeah,
people. It was a smaller scale for sure
yeah.
than the typical bigger agency. Um, and they did great. I actually really liked all of the leads that I was getting. I got a ton of leads that first month, that I was
Hmm.
doing with them. It was nationwide, but I still got a bunch of leads, that I had to sort through and whatnot. And got maybe a couple of deals like under contract. They didn't come to fruition, unfortunately, but it
Hmm.
definitely gave me kind of like an idea. Oh, this is the way that the
Yeah.
ads, inbound ads work or leads. But I stopped not because he was bad or did a bad job or anything like that. I wasn't happy. It wasn't that. It was actually the fact where you just mentioned that I like to learn it myself.
Yeah.
I like to be able to be hands-on. Learn what's going on in the background or in the back end, why it is what's working and whatnot, what I can do, or just control it. I like to control it. The marketing, and so that's
Yeah,
why
I
I
mean,
ended up
in the
enrolled.
beginning, the setup is always what takes the longest, but it doesn't take that long. It's not like as if you're going away in a cave for like a month or 2 months, right? But then once
Yeah.
what would you say? Do you spend a lot of time per week managing them?
No, nowadays it's just kind of keeping an eye on it, making sure that the
Yeah.
cost per lead isn't too high, making sure that some of those the ads specific ones are the images or whatnot videos are performing. If not,
Right.
switch them out, kind of thing. It's more just quick maintenance
Management,
now.
yeah, maintenance on it,
Yeah.
yeah. One question I forgot to ask you on the buyer. I know that on the deal that you sold, the buyer was somebody that had reached out to you. Curious, how much of the deposit did you ask? Did you ask a deposit of the buyer, and if so, how much for when you signed
Yes.
the assignment of contract?
Yeah. So I asked for 7,000 on my contract,
Uh-huh.
but we negotiated it to five.
Okay.
Um, and so it was at 5,000, closed in 2 weeks. And they were actually that was some one of the things that I actually hadn't mentioned was that they were actually getting really like cold feet after after they started going through that whole FERPA deal with the
Oh, the
seller.
buyers did.
Yeah, they started
Okay.
getting cold feet about it. So
Why were they getting cold feet on
I
something
guess
like
it was
that?
something that they hadn't dealt with in the past, something
Yeah.
new, and I guess they thought, oh, this isn't going to close. Here's the thing though, that I later found out because he started kind of bringing up some almost excuses, things that
Mm-hmm.
are like reasons why he wanted to get out of the deal,
Mm-hmm.
basically, without telling me, hey, just let me off the hook, right? Um, and one of them was this, and he was pressuring me like, hey. how's like every day, how's it going? How's it going? I'm like, hey, dude, like I'm dealing with it. I'm telling you, I'm dealing with it. I'll keep you updated in, as we go, through it. He was a nice guy. Like, mind you, we were not like bumping heads or anything. We were
Yeah.
just kind of discussing about it. And so, but he was getting cold feet about this one. And then apparently he got some kind of tip from somebody or something that my seller had been deported. And I was like, no, he's very much here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
just
funny.
talked with him.
Yeah.
It's him that I'm talking to. And he's like, and I'm like, at the end of the day, title is gonna take care of all of that, like making sure that they are who they are. I'm like, we just need to
Yeah.
get to closing. So again, they were trying to use several like excuses to try to get out of the deal. But I was performing on everything that I was telling him. Like, hey, I'm gonna do this. I got it done. I'm gonna figure out FERPTA, got it done. Kept them in the loop along the way and everything. But later on, it got to a point where he was trying to. I found out that he was actually double closing it or gonna actually wholesale it himself
Oh.
to somebody else. It's a buyer, according to him. He buys and flips and everything. Um, but it didn't feel within his wheelhouse, and so he knew somebody else that he had done deals with in the past, and was just going to push it off to them. And I was like, hey, well, that's fine. I don't mind you doing that. Just be upfront about it. Just let me know. I don't care if I have a solid buyer, we can
Yeah.
work together on it. Like you don't need to, tell me, all this other stuff or whatnot. And so, anyways, he put himself in a position to where either they were going to lose their earnest money because they were trying to, get out of the deal, or they were either going to close on the day that we had scheduled because they were trying to push it. They were trying to push it another 2 weeks. I was like, no, we're gonna close now. We have to close, or y'all are gonna lose your earnest money. Because at that point, again, a lot of things had happened where I
Yeah.
didn't have, to be honest, a lot of hopes that they were gonna come through. So I had to put some pressure on them. Like, you guys are either gonna close or you're gonna lose your own earnest money. Um, and I always do it to where try to schedule my closings to where I still have at least 2, 3 weeks with the seller in case
Hmm.
they don't close. I have a backup,
Yeah.
time, a little bit of time to find another buyer really fast. And so that's why I was like, oh no, I'm not going to do another 2 weeks. You guys need to close now. And it was a whole ordeal. Well, honestly, a bit of a bigger headache with the buyer and his buyer, at
So
the
he
end
ended
than
up did he
anything
end up
else.
double closing then with somebody else?
No, it actually ended up, that was his plan. It ended up on the HUD, it shows my fee and then it shows his fee. Um, he
Oh.
honestly, at the end of the day, I went from I was gonna make 20,000. I ended up making 17. That $3,000 difference
Hmm.
was just because at the end for closing, again, they were getting cold feet. They're like, well, give us a discount trying to price drop me, to close. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna, you guys already agreed to 20 or
Yeah.
the 225. Anyways, it became a whole ordeal. So I was like, okay, let's do this. I'll give you $3,000. Let's just close on the day that you guys were going to close. And what's it called? And so they went ahead and did that. So that was a whole $3,000 difference, was because we were trying to negotiate that price at the end, the purchase
And
price on their end.
and so then in the end, was it do you know how much did they make? Do you know how much they made?
So the guy that was kind of in between, he ended up making just $1,000, $1,000,
Oh.
and so he really did pull through. At the end of the day, he
Yeah.
pulled through with his buyer, even though he just made $1,000 on it, um, on the deal itself, and it shows it on the HUD. Like,
Got it.
here's mine 17, and then his $1,000.
And how about the title? Who did you select the title company or they selected the title company? Who was the title
They
company?
selected it.
They selected it.
It
But
was Capital Title in Houston.
got it. So just
It's
for
one of them.
clarity's sake, so you had typically if a contract is 30 business days, it's really about 40 calendar days, right? So that's why we do
Yes.
business days. So if you have 45 days, say hypothetically to close with a seller and you have a buyer and now you have an assignment that's signed, then on the assignment of contract, we can put in there when we want the buyer to close. And we can say, hey, we want you to close, say, typically a couple of weeks, before the actual closing with the seller. That way, if the buyer backs out or completely loses it, then you still have some time to work to try to find another buyer for your deal, right? In essence, right? That's
Yes.
correct. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yes.
interesting. A lot of people don't realize that there's like three stages, I think. Number one is you get the marketing up and running. Number two, now you got to talk to buyers and talk to sellers and get a contract signed. But then once you get a contract signed, now we still have the next part of the deal because you got to
Yeah.
find a buyer, and even after you find a buyer and you get the deal signed, now you have to go to the next part, which is dealing with title, dealing with seller getting cold feet, buyer getting cold feet, and all this other stuff. So a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people never get to that part because they're still stuck on the lead gen,
Yes.
right? But you don't realize that we get. you think about the money that you could say, well, you're paying 17 grand. But if you think about it, most real estate agents are very much not able to and not equipped to handle all these type of issues at all,
Hmm.
right? And so we get paid really to solve problems. And in this deal, you had a lot of problems to solve with everybody, right?
Yeah, it was tough for sure to say the least.
Yeah.
And I didn't even mention the part where what's it called at closing day, this the buyer did or the seller didn't want to leave until he got paid. He was like, "No, until I see the account in my the money in my account, then I'm gonna
Oh,
go."
yeah.
Again, going back to him being like, skittish
Old
about the
school.
whole
Yeah, yeah,
situation.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I was explaining to him, look, sir, you're gonna get paid, but the title company will take a little bit, sometimes like a day if they could get it after hours or whatever, the money from the buyer. But you're gonna get paid. Like it's in a contract, we have to abide by the contract and whatnot. He was not budging. I'm telling you, this was like the day that everything had to be, out and done and whatnot. The issue though with it, let me go back a couple of days, was we were gonna close on a Friday.
Hmm.
Monday was a holiday.
Oh.
And I was like, another learning lesson for me. I'm like, never close on Friday ever again or a
Yeah,
day
I never
before a
put
holiday.
closing dates on Fridays. I never
It
put
was,
closing dates on Fridays, period, because
yeah,
if it doesn't close on Friday, 5 o'clock, that's it until the weekend. And on top of that, now you had a holiday, which is even worse.
it was bad. So Friday was supposed to be closing, and he went and he signed. Buyer went and signed later in the day, but it was too late in the day to where
Mm,
like money was going to get transferred and whatnot. And the buyer was like, "Well, what am I supposed to do? Like, I needed that money to get a hotel or whatever it is." So in the end, he ended up staying at his house, at his same house. He just kind of, I guess, brought his bed down and whatnot, set up there for the weekend.
yeah.
And until Tuesday rolled around. And on Tuesday was when everything's supposed to get done. And again, he only had his like bed and like a couple additional things that he
Yeah.
set up just for the weekend to
Yeah.
camp out at his
He was
house.
camping at his house. Yeah.
And but the buyer was being so like picky about him, adamant about them needing to take all of that out. Like they didn't want anything inside.
Hmm.
And so I was like, oh my God. And so I ended up in the whole process. Again, it's an older gentleman.
Yeah.
He was relying on somebody else local that he knew. I later on found out that he knew for 20 plus years. A younger lady who was helping him out um, with paperwork and whatnot. I got her phone number earlier in our conversations and spoke to her, I think, once before. And I had to call her to help me. Hey, just do me a solid, help me get this guy to understand that he's
Mm,
going to get his money. It's just the regular process of
yeah.
closing a property. It needs to be empty. It needs to be out. And then they're going to go ahead and give him the money to title. Title will then send it to him. It might be hopefully that same evening he gets it, but if not, it'll be the next day for sure.
Yeah.
But once it's with title, the money, it's for sure you're going to get paid,
Yeah.
And so she had to step in and kind of like help me out because he was not budging at all that day. And sure enough, she pulled through, helped me out. And I actually just sent her like last week, I think it was a nice little gift card for helping me out.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah,
Okay. Wow. Look at that. Oh my
it
gosh.
was
Yeah.
a crazy
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, most people don't realize, you'll have some deals that go without a hitch, but there's always, if there's no problems, you're wondering that I know there's gonna be a shitstorm of stuff right before close because we haven't had any issues yet. They can't be this
Yeah.
easy. Yeah. So we've had that happen. And so yeah, it's just the nature of the business. So now you're running, you're running your own Facebook ads. You're running TikTok, and then we just discussed also that you should get up and running with YouTube ads. Are
Mhm.
you still doing outbound by chance still? Outbound cold calling,
Um,
SMS or anything like that?
I am. Yeah, I
Okay.
am actually. But I no longer do the calls. I have a cold caller who does
Yeah,
them for me now,
got it.
that I trained, and he's doing that. Been great. But I just did that actually maybe like a month before actually jumping into Facebook
Got it.
ads and stuff. Got
So is
that set
your
up first and
I
then
guess
the
my
SMS.
my I'm thinking that your intention is continue to work our stuff, get additional deals on the contract, and eventually maybe you would phase that out, or are you focused on your local area there, and so you'll probably keep that on?
I'm not sure yet. I kind of like the fact that it's different kind of markets, I guess, that I'm
Yeah,
kind of hitting, points of that I'm getting leads from. I do niche data, like probate and that kind of stuff. Um, and I'm in the Dallas area, so a lot of it is going to be here. Got a lot to work for me
yeah,
in the area and in all of Texas. Um, but I don't think I'm ever gonna face it out, to be honest. Maybe I will at some point once I feel like it's a whole lot easier to do just Facebook and whatnot, all of those leads, which is than managing a cold caller and all of
yeah.
that. But I don't know. As of now, I feel like it's kind of part of
Here,
the grind that I do.
here's what I would do. Remember, I'm not going to say what they are, but we had talked about different names right before the call. I was giving you suggestions
Yeah.
about domains and everything else. I would use your legal name is Eduardo, but you told me that you go by most of the time Eddie. I would think about that, perhaps using that. But also, too, what I would do if I were you is do what we talked about before the call in terms of getting all those, the website and everything matching. And
Yeah.
you could run ads, test running ads locally, but using you, like it's more of a, you're gonna have a better time if you're doing it locally if you are more intentional about you being in front of the camera and everything, like being congruent across. So because now they're gonna see you, they'll see you on TikTok, they see you on Facebook. It's like, hey, this is Eddie, I buy houses, and then now they're starting to see you. And we have clients who are more local focused, and they're doing great because they're the ones on camera. They're really pushing hard on the ads, so that way when people see them, they see videos of you, especially with retargeting, and then now all of a sudden there's a familiarity. So now when you do talk to them, they feel like they know you, but at the same time, that's how I found that the local guys are better able to do the digital marketing. So I would say get what we talked about in place, and then start testing some ads there under that umbrella and seeing what the results you get from that.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're right. I actually thought about it, and yes, I've seen some actually locals here
Yeah,
to my area that do a lot of local ads and whatnot, and they come up on my feed and stuff, and I think it's a really good idea. But yeah, all of my stuff is not congruent, and so I'm going to be
yeah,
working on that, like you mentioned too, and suggested to just make sure that it's all kind of flows into each other together,
yeah.
and then just go from there and start building almost like a persona right in your local market and
Yeah,
stuff.
because if you think about like with me, like I think you found me on YouTube, right? I think
Yes.
so. There's gonna come a time. There was a point in time that you felt like, oh, I haven't talked to Chico, but I feel like I know him, right? Because you watch enough of my videos and stuff like that. And so that same, you want to try to establish that. So when they finally you get somebody on the call, they see your ad, they're like, oh yeah, like the seller. When you were calling that seller, there was a point in time that he knew who you were. Like, oh yeah, Eddie, I know who you are, right? Because the familiarity of you talking to him. But that's what you want to establish, right? And because also too, when all said and done, you know, if everything's the same, they're gonna go by gut instinct who they feel that they trust. And if they, like you did business with me, because yeah, I offered certain things, but at the end of the day, you're like, I think I maybe trust this guy, maybe, right?
Yeah.
And you took a leap of faith, and that's the same thing with the sellers, right? And I think that that's what lends to that. So if you have any questions on that, you can send me a DM inside the school community. But to me, that's what I would focus on: congruency across everything. And then that way, as you're coming across, everything is in, one umbrella, and then start practicing, being on camera. And the best advice I can give you for being on camera is always like, it's easy to think when you're doing a video that, oh, I'm talking to all these people, right? But the best way to approach it is when you're doing the phone, taking a video, is you're only talking to one person only. You know what I mean? And I always think
That's
whenever I
true.
do a video, I'll put myself in the frame of mind. If I was going to give advice, I'm here, I have somebody in front of me. I want to give advice to that person. What would they be?
Hmm.
And for me, the phone is best because you're used to holding the phone and doing FaceTime with people. I've had big
Yeah.
cameras and I put the camera in front of me and it just looks weird because it's not the same. So to me, I'm a
Hmm.
big fan of doing the phone, making sure you have good audio, and you talk to the phone as if you were talking to somebody, as if that seller that you had a conversation with, like, hey, this is Eduardo, and I would love the opportunity to buy your house. I buy houses here in the Houston, Dallas area, and you just the thing I was going to tell you, and I said this to him right before the call. He's like, oh, I think I'm terrible at social media or being on video. I said, well, you're not terrible. You don't have a lot of practice. So when you have a lot of when you don't have a lot of practice on something, it's just you're gonna feel you're not that great. And I would say I
Yeah.
would encourage you to just record videos. And I would say, if in doubt, record first, and then later on you could decide if you want it. You're like, oh, I don't like it. I'm gonna record another one. But you'd be surprised. When I first got started with Facebook, this is a long time ago, 2016. I made this video, and at the end, after recorded the video, I was like, yeah, it's a little bit gray, fuzzy. I don't think I was doing, and then the voice wasn't that great, and I'm like, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna just record it. And that was my best ad out of all the ads I ever created ever.
Well,
I call it the OG ad. So you never know what's going to resonate with people. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
would I would definitely encourage you because I think you could do it. I think you could do it well, and you don't have to be polished because you just have to be you. People are going to resonate with you, and they're gonna and if you do it in the way I just described, where you're just talking to one person and really thinking about how you can help them, right? Like if they were sitting across a kitchen table, that comes across. And next thing you know, people are like, oh, yeah, I've seen a few of your ads and your videos. I can't believe I'm talking to you. This is great. And I want to sell my house. And I trust you more than Mike, who I don't even know who Mike is, right?
No, yeah, no, there's a what's it called? Practice does make better, not perfect, right?
Right.
And
Yeah, I
I
like that.
think
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and so I've definitely thought about actually, And the videos that you provide also, with the school and whatnot, I started trying to replicate them, but just with me in them.
Yeah.
And I did one where I'm walking and stuff, just taking a walk because I know you have several of those,
Yeah.
and then just recording myself. I edited some actually, and I already put them out. Some of them are getting a little bit of traction, but I think it's just like anything else where you just gotta record as many as you can, throw them on there, see which ones kind of work, hit,
Yeah.
or whatnot. And so I'm still in the process of making more, but oh my man, that it takes me forever just to do one little 45-second video. But I think again, practice, 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 and I'll get better at it
Yeah,
and editing and stuff.
the
So
advice I would give you is, I some people can do well with teleprompters, and I can read. I always prefer bullet points, right? Because then you're just gonna most people are gonna have a difficult time if they're using because you could buy a teleprompter app on your phone, they're gonna still have a difficult time. So I work off of bullet points, right? And the best advice I can give you is you record it in segments, right? So let's say the first bullet point is say, hi, my name is Chris. And have you ever wondered what it would, have you, let me think about this for a second. Let's say about inherited properties. Like, do you have an inherited property you're thinking of selling and you're wondering what's the best way to get it done? So that could be a little bullet point. So I'll look at the phone, I'll record that, and then I'll stop, right? And then I'll go and look at the other bullet point, but keep the camera rolling. So then you could easily edit that video in CapCut, or Instagram has a new app called Edits, and it's free. And I edit most of my
mm,
videos on social media. I edit them that way. And you just do it that way. Like you just stop and record. And then you on your phone, you can edit them. It's very easy. And then you put the captions on there. And that's all you need. Then you just take that and
yeah.
transfer it over to the computer. But that's my advice is just do it in parts like that. The trick is that when you're give it a second that you're looking at the camera before you go this way, because you don't want the camera to catch you going like this, right? So you just I'm
Oh
going to
yeah.
read this line, I'm going to look at the camera, I'm going to pause for a second, talk to it, and then I'm going to pause again, and then go to the next line. So
Yeah.
you'll have a file that might be 2 minutes long, 2.5 minutes, but you'll just cut it right on your phone, and that's it.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I just want to encourage you because I think you could really you come across well on camera, and I think that you just and the other thing is smile. Don't be angry. Sometimes I have to act
Oh yeah.
I look at the camera and I look like you look like you're having a miserable day, Chico. So smile and look like you're having a good time while you're talking to the video.
Yeah, it's funny enough that you say that because when I was doing that video, I was on a walk actually with my little one, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna record right now. I'm out walking, with her. It was a nice evening, and I'm like, this is perfect. I'm just gonna do one really quick. Took me forever, but I thought about it. I was like, how would Chico probably do these kind of videos? Because he probably like does a bunch, all at once or something, and
Yeah,
try to like match them. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do an intro. So I did kind of like that one intro video. I cut it there just like you actually mentioned.
right.
And then I was like, I want to do something for each specific, thing like an inheritance, foreclosure. Are you going through like your house's back payments or something like that, and some different ones. And so I did different cuts for each of those, and then did different outros kind of to everything. And so now I'm just the hard part, or not hard, but the thing that takes also the longest is editing. I guess for me, I'm a little too, I guess, anal, I guess, about doing all the editing and stuff while I
Yeah,
do
I
it.
mean, if
So
you
I'm
do the
still kind of
editing,
working the part.
what I would recommend, and I'll leave you with this, is that don't record so many initially. Because if you record like 10 videos and you're not really great at editing, now you got this big long task of like, oh, I got to edit 10 videos, so I got to learn this whole thing.
That's exactly right. Me right now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
man, now I got to get through all of these.
Yeah. So to me, I would do one at a time and then just sit right there and record it. I like the Edit app on, you could it's Edits. It's called Edits on the App Store. I don't
Mhm.
know. Do you have an iPhone or you have an Android device?
Yeah, an iPhone.
iPhone, yeah. So it's on the so I would just do that one at a time, do it that way, so it's not so overwhelming. But doing it the way you described, which is as soon as you think of an idea, just take out your phone, record it. At least you record it. Later on, you can decide if you want to use it, and then start adding those into your campaigns, right? Because
Yeah.
then all of a sudden now I give you my videos and my images and everything else. But if you can find your own videos that perform just as well as mine, then that's better because nobody's ever going to be able to replicate you. You know what I mean? And then now
Yeah.
combine that with what I told you in terms of having your, everything matching in terms of your branding, then that's gonna give you an upper leg when you talk to the seller, like, oh yeah, I know this guy's legitimate. I see you on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, then you're automatically legitimate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah, but
No, yeah,
I'm
I'm
happy.
definitely gonna. Thanks
Yeah,
for the tips on that. I'm
yeah.
definitely gonna be doing that.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I really do, and really sharing, the case study, and I'm excited for you, and I'd love for you to, like I said, get everything squared away, start on YouTube ads, because I think that's a great opportunity, and then love to have you on a second time. Maybe we can do a case study on YouTube ads. That would be amazing.
Yes, 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 yes. That's the goal. So I'm gonna get
Okay,
that done. When I get my first deal done with YouTube, I'll definitely reach out to you.
perfect, perfect. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you,
Of course.
everybody.